Hi everyone, you're welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'll be showing you how to make a jacket with no collar, and I'll be making use of inches instead of centimeters. As you can see, I'll be making use of an A4 paper rather than a big pattern paper. So I'll be making use of inches, but on this paper I'll be marking in centimeters because I want the measurement to be able to fit into the paper. So in real life, you want to make your own measurement in inches. I hope that is clear. So you want to fold your pattern paper just once over like that. Before we continue, this is Tega and you're very welcome to the channel. If you're here for the first time, thanks so much for coming. To my subscribers, thanks for coming again. Be sure to press the subscribe button as well as the notification bell. So let's carry on with the tutorial. Like I said, you want to make use of inches, but on this paper I'll be using centimeters because of the size of the paper. So here I'm showing you what I'll be doing. The first thing is you've got to know the length of the blazer you're gonna be making. So you want to draft out your start line and the bottom line as well and rule a line across. Here I'm making use of 19.5 inches as the total length of the jacket. So from your waist, you want to go down by 2 or 3 inches depending on how long you want your jacket. But this is not definitely a long jacket. Right. So once that is done and you've considered the length of your jacket, you want to add the neck width. So your neck width here, I'm making use of 3.5 inches. Also, I'm going to add my shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches, and make the marking. If your shoulder is 16, it will be 8 inches. So mark the 8 inches and add half an inch for your seam allowance. Then proceed to add your neckline depth. Don't forget you're going to be marking it from that start line. So you're going to be taking 3 inches for your neckline depth and connect the dots together. So here we're drafting our front panel, right? The front panel. Now for the shoulder slope, you want to come down from there by 1 inch. Come down by 1 inch and connect to the neckline. From your shoulder, come down by 1 inch and connect to the neckline. Next, I'm going to add the armhole. Your armhole circumference divided by 2. Whatever you have, you want to make the marking and roll a line from the shoulder slope, not from the start line. Take note of that. So your armhole circumference divided by 2, whatever you have, draw the line. Now I'm going to be marking the shoulder to bust point measurement. So shoulder to bust point measurement, whatever you have, make the marking and draw a line across. Next, you want to add your bust measurement, which is your bust circumference divided by 4. Your bust circumference divided by 4, add 1 inch seam allowance to it. If you want, you can add ease allowance as well. For the armhole, you want to go back to the line, armhole line that we've drafted there. Then you want to find the midpoint. Once you find the midpoint, you want to come in by 3/4 of an inch. Make the marking. So here we're drafting out our front panel armhole. So you want to draw it out like that. Then you're going to connect it to the bust line. As you can see, I haven't drafted out any chest line. For a normal top, I can connect that armhole to the chest line. But because this is a jacket and we want our armhole to be a bit free, so I'm connecting that to the bust line. I want you to take note of this. I'm not constructing the armhole on my chest line, but rather on the bust line. This is for ease when you wear a shirt or a jumper under your blazer. So that's the front armhole and that's the back armhole there. You want to draw a straight line from the bust line all the way to the length of the blazer. If you want, you can take half an inch or 1 inch off the waistline to make the blazer a bit slanted, but on this occasion it's just a straight line. I want it straight. So next you want to extend for seam allowance. You need seam allowance for your blazer, so that space there serves as the seam allowance, right? And also you need to slit the front. Don't forget it's an open jacket, so you're gonna be slitting the front of the pattern. You want to add your seam allowance round the neckline and the shoulder. No need to add a seam allowance to the armhole because we already did when we were constructing the shoulder. We're gonna be using this front panel to draft our back panel. Once this is completed, so now you've got your seam allowance added, you've got the armhole as well already added, and you've got your side seam allowance. If we wanted to add a princess dart, we could, but on this occasion we're not adding a princess dart to this blazer. Now it's time to cut. Before cutting, you can decide to draft out your back pattern as well before cutting the front panel. It's easier that way. I want you to take note, the armhole there is the back armhole, the back blazer armhole. So I'm not gonna cut the front one at the moment. As you can see, I've got the front armhole drafted, still drafted on the pattern. So once we cut the front panel, we're gonna place it on another fresh pattern paper and draft out our back panel. The back panel and the front are very similar, as they are the same except for the neckline and the armhole. Those are the only areas we've got to reconstruct for our back panel. So I'm gonna draft out the armhole and the neckline as well. You only need to come from the start line point. If you remember, we had a start line. From the start line, you want to come down by 1 inch or 1.5 inches for your back neckline depth. The width is going to be the same for the back, but the neck depth will be different. So you want to draft that now. Two things for the back panel. The neckline is different and the armhole is different. That's all it is. Neckline and armhole. Now you're gonna cut. Once you've done that, you then want to go ahead and cut the armhole for the front panel. Now we've drafted our back panel. You can now cut the front armhole. Now you want to cut the front panel. Don't forget we've got 2 peaks at the front, not one. you only have one piece for the back, two for the front, and one for the back. If you want your blazer lined or you want a reversible blazer, go ahead and cut another piece, exactly the piece you've got here. So you would end up with 6 pieces. Moving on to the sleeve, your cap height measurement is very important. And for your cap height, you only need your bust circumference divided by 12 plus half an inch. Right, your bust circumference divided by 12 plus half an inch. And once you're able to do that, then you have your cap height measurement. Then you can move on and start drafting your sleeve. You need another paper in order to draft this. So you want to fold your paper over as well. Make sure you have enough. Measure your hem width. Some people call it the hem round to know the exact width you need on your paper. And you want to draft out a start line. Make sure you leave up to 1 inch, 1 or 1.5 inches as the start line of the paper. Then you want to consider the length of your sleeve. Here I'll be drafting a 3/4 sleeve. You can decide to do a long sleeve to the wrist, and if you want a short sleeve blazer, you can go ahead. So once I knew the length I wanted, I drew a line as well. So you want to make sure you have enough paper for that. Now, like I said, you need your cap height. Once you have calculated the cap height, you want to add the measurement to your paper. So here I'm adding the cap height. Once that is marked, you want to draw a line across. If we were making a normal blouse, we would have drafted the sleeve up to the chest line. That's the chest line over there. But remember, because of ease, I went all the way to the bust line. You want to grab either your ruler or tape measure and measure from the shoulder point all the way to the bust point. You need the length of that for your sleeve. Here I have from that point all the way there, I have 9.5 inches. So I'm going to transfer the 9.5 inches. Most times the calculation is better with your tape measure, as you can fold over and get the exact measurement like that and transfer to your pattern paper. I'm gonna mark the 9.5 inches on my cap height. So whatever yours is from your shoulder to your bust line, you want to mark it on your cap height over there. And you want to add half an inch kind of ease allowance. If you're drafting a long sleeve, so when you take the wrist measurement, make sure you had ease allowance for wearing the blazer. Then you want to make the marking on that line there. I'm making a 3/4 sleeve, so definitely I'm measuring above the wrist line. For a fitted sleeve, you want to add your elbow measurement. So measure from your shoulder to your elbow and make the marking. Your shoulder to the elbow, make the marking for that. Rule a line across. This is only if you don't want a loose sleeve. If you want a loose sleeve, you don't have to draft the elbow line. You just have to connect from the cap height right to the wrist. But with the elbow, a measurement added for fitness, you're gonna measure what your elbow is, your elbow circumference divided by 2. Then you wanna make the marking. So that's the cap height. That's the elbow. And that's the wrist line, or wherever your sleeve is up to 3/4 or your wrist line. So once that is done, we'll move on to the next stage. You want to connect your 9.5 or whatever your armhole measurement is. You want to connect it to the start line point over there. Don't forget we added our armhole, half of our armhole measurement. So from that point right up to the start line. Once that is done, you want to find the midpoint and make the marking. Find the midpoint. And make the marking. That's the midpoint. It's better done with a tape measure than a ruler. From the midpoint, you want to go up by half an inch. Half an inch. Go up by half an inch. Right. We're drafting the back sleeve. We're drafting the back sleeve first. You want to connect with a straight line from the armhole point right up to that half an inch, and you want to make a curve from that point right up there to the start line. So this is what you would have, a curve and a straight line, and that's the back armhole drafted. So for the front armhole, all you need to do is to make a mini curve from that point there right up to the start line. So you want to draw a mini curve as well. Get your curved ruler and do that. Once that is done, you want to come down from that point. So you've got another curve, one up and one down, all connecting to the 9.5 inches armhole there. So now we have our front panel armhole. Once that is done, you want to connect right to the wrist. Don't forget to add your elbow measurement. Your elbow circumference divided by 2. Whatever you have, you want to add to the elbow line, then draft your sleeve. Once drafted, you can add your half an inch to 1 inch seam allowance from that point all the way to the elbow and the wrist line. Now that we have our sleeve drafted, we're gonna go ahead and add our seam allowance round the wrist line, and you wanna take 1 to 1.5 inches for that. Then draft your line across. And also there's a way, if you've watched some of my tutorials, you'll note that I do mention this. When stitching your sleeve, you would have problems except you do this. You want to come out by that seam allowance. You want to come out by half an inch on that line. That will allow for a perfect wrist line. So when you're stitching together, for a flawless finish, you also want to fold that line before the allowance. You can fold it over and cut. And when you cut, it's going to be the same thing. Instead of drafting, when you cut, you fold the allowance in and you cut that way. It's going to still give you a flawless finish. Now, if you were sewing a straight sleeve without the elbow, you're going to have a line all the way up like that. The shape is gonna be different from what I have on the pattern here, and that will add more ease on the sleeve. So this is optional. You can either go for the fitted sleeve or you can go for the loose fitted, sleeve. It's up to you what you decide to do. But right now I'm gonna cut the fitted one. I'm gonna be cutting out the fitted sleeve where I've got my elbow in. Now I'm gonna grab my scissors. So I'm folding that hem of the sleeve and I'm gonna cut. This is the length of the real length of the sleeve, but I folded the allowance over. So even when you haven't drafted, you can cut like this. I'm cutting the back sleeve first. So I want you to take note of that area, the armhole area there. I've cut the back side here, but I haven't cut the front side, as you can see. So you want to cut the back first and look at the hemline. So it's automatically formed itself. Can you see? Even without me taking that half an inch, coming out by half an inch over there, automatically when you fold over, the sleeve is gonna be perfect. Now I'm going ahead to cut the front side of the sleeve. Only the front side. You only have to cut one side of it. That's the front and that's the back over there, as you can see. So on one sleeve, you've got the front and you've got the back cut differently. So you're gonna cut the second sleeve exactly the same way. And here I've got all my panels laid out, my back panel, my front two piece, and my sleeve. This is all you need to make that amazing blazer. Except you want to line the blazer, which I highly recommend because your blazer is going to be looking stunning once it's lined. Or are you thinking of making a reversible blazer? That's another good option. Amazing option. Now we've come to the end of this tutorial. I hope this video has been helpful. If it has, give it a thumbs up and I'll see you in my next video. Till then, look after yourself and bye.